place nestled at the edge of the forest. I came here to escape the city noise, the crowd, the concrete. Out here, I could breathe again. I could run again. There was a trail behind my house, one that snaked deep into the woods. Locals called it Briar Path, though no one seemed to use it. When I asked about it at the cafe, the barista just gave a half smile and said, "Better trails elsewhere." She didn't elaborate. That only made me more curious. So that evening, just before dusk, I laced up my shoes and headed out. The air was cool, crisp, the kind of chill that wakes your skin but doesn't bite. The trees stood like tall, ancient sentinels, their shadows long and quiet. It smelled of damp earth and pine needles. For the first mile, everything was peaceful. Just the rhythmic thud of my footsteps, the occasional rustle of leaves, birds chirping high above. A squirrel darted across the path. I smiled, felt good, calm, but then something changed. At first I heard what I thought was another runner behind me. Soft footfalls, light, measured, but when I slowed and glanced over my shoulder, the trail was empty. I stopped, listened. Nothing. I chalked it up to nerves. New surroundings, a deer maybe. I kept going, but then I heard it again, closer. Footsteps, definitely footsteps. I spun around, still no one. The forest felt heavier now, the trees closer. I could hear my own breathing. A little too fast, my heartbeat tapped an uneven rhythm in my ears. "Get a grip," I told myself. I forced a chuckle. "You're just on edge, that's all." I started running again, faster this time. Not a sprint, but a pace I knew I couldn't hold forever. Then came the whisper, like someone murmuring just behind my ear. "Keep going." I skidded to a stop. My heart stuttered in my chest. I whipped around. Again, nothing. But this time the air behind me was cold. I mean cold. Like walking into a meat locker. No wind, no birds, just silence. I backed up a few steps, eyes darting through the trees. Every branch looked like it was leaning toward me. The shadows had thickened somehow, shifted. That's when I realized I didn't recognize this part of the trail. The path forked behind me in two directions, but I didn't remember passing any fork before. The trees looked different, taller, darker. Wrong. I turned back to the way I thought I came from and froze. There was someone standing in the middle of the trail. Too still, too tall. Their face was not quite right. The features seemed blurred, like someone had taken an eraser to their eyes and mouth. Their head tilted slightly, like they were studying me. I didn't wait. I ran, not down the fork, not toward them. I sprinted into the woods. Branches slapped my arms and face. My breath burned in my throat. I didn't care where I went. I just needed to get away. Behind me, I could hear them following, not running, walking, steady, calm. The forest bent around me, trees shifting where they shouldn't. My GPS watch had lost signal. Then I saw it, a clearing, old, sagging, the windows boarded up but the door slightly ajar. I didn't think, I just barreled inside and slammed the door shut. Darkness swallowed me. I pulled out my phone. Dead. Not just no signal, dead. No power, not even the restart logo. It was 87% battery when I left. I turned, pressed my back against the door, trying to catch my breath. The air inside the cabin was thick, musty, smelled like wet wood and something rotting. I heard movement upstairs, a slow creak, then another. Deliberate. I should have left, should have run, but I didn't. Instead, I crept toward the staircase. Each step groaned under my weight. Dust floated in the dim light, filtering through the cracks in the boards. At the top of the stairs, the hallway stretched into darkness. A door stood at the end, slightly open. I reached for it. Just a mirror, tall, ornate, and cracked across the center. The room was otherwise empty, but the reflection wasn't. In the mirror, I saw myself, breathing hard, eyes wide, and behind me, that faceless thing, standing inches away. I spun around, empty room. I looked back at the mirror. Now it was closer. Its head was tilted again. Its hand was reaching for my shoulder. I felt pressure on my skin. I screamed. Ran. Back down the stairs, out the cabin, into the woods again. No path, just brambles and roots tearing at my legs. But I didn't stop. I didn't look back. I could still hear it, whispering. Keep going. Blacktop underfoot, a single street lamp flickered nearby. My house loomed in the distance. I stumbled inside, slammed the door, and locked it. Every window, every bolt, collapsed on the couch. I was safe, or so I thought, until I looked at my shoes. Caked in mud, not forest mud, not like briar path. Red, thick, smelled like iron. Blood? I pulled them off with shaking hands. And that's when I heard it again, from the hallway. Soft footsteps, measured, calm, coming closer. I don't sleep much anymore. I hear it at night, the footsteps, the whisper. Sometimes I wake up to find muddy footprints leading from the front door to the foot of my bed. And sometimes I see my reflection in the hallway mirror, smiling, even when I'm not. You don't know if they ever escaped the trail, or if the trail ever really ended. I've always loved jogging at night. There's something calming about the city after dark, when the streets are quieter, the air cooler, and the hum of life softens to a distant murmur. Tonight was no different, or so I thought. I laced up my sneakers and stepped out of my apartment into the crisp night air. The city lights shimmered faintly in the distance, casting long, distorted shadows across the pavement. My usual route took me through a few familiar streets, but tonight I felt an itch to explore. A new path, something different. I turned down an unfamiliar side street, its dimly lit stretch beckoning me forward. The buildings here were older, their windows darkened and lifeless. The air felt heavier somehow, but I chalked it up to my imagination and kept running. The first oddity came about 10 minutes into my jog. As I passed a row of abandoned storefronts, I heard it, a soft tap 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 behind me. It was faint, almost imperceptible, like someone matching my pace but keeping their distance. I slowed and glanced over my shoulder. Nothing. The street was empty, save for the flickering glow of a single street lamp ahead. I shook it off, probably just my footsteps echoing off the buildings, and picked up my pace. But then it happened again. Tap, tap, tap. This time, it was louder, closer. My skin prickled as I turned around more sharply this time, scanning the shadows for any sign of movement. Still nothing. Just the hollow silence of the empty street staring back at me. Get a grip, I muttered under my breath and forced myself to keep going. A few blocks later, I started to notice something else. Shadows that didn't quite match their sources. A lamppost would cast a single shadow of me on the ground, but out of the corner of my eye, I'd catch another one darting unnaturally fast across the wall beside me. Too fast to belong to anyone walking. I stopped dead in my tracks under the next streetlight and spun around in a full circle. The street was deserted. No cars, no people, nothing but me and the quiet hum of electricity from the lights above. That's when I saw it. A figure standing at the far end of the block, barely visible in the dim light. They weren't moving, just standing there, watching me. My heart thudded in my chest as I took a cautious step back. Hello? My voice wavered slightly as it echoed down the empty street. No response. I blinked, and they were gone. I didn't wait around to see if they'd come back. My jog turned into a sprint as I bolted down another side street, hoping to lose whatever, or whoever, it was that had appeared behind me. The buildings here were even older, their brick facades crumbling with age. Most of them were boarded up or abandoned entirely. That's when I realized something chilling. I didn't recognize this part of town anymore. It was as if the city had shifted while I wasn't looking, leading me into some forgotten corner that didn't belong on any map. The tapping sound returned, this time faster and erratic, like someone running after me but deliberately staying just out of sight. My breathing grew ragged as panic set in. Every time I glanced over my shoulder, there was nothing there, but those fleeting shadows danced just at the edge of my vision. And then came the whispers, soft at first, barely audible over my pounding footsteps, fragmented words that made no sense but carried an unmistakable malice. They seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere all at once. Not alone. Turn back. I rounded a corner too sharply and stumbled into an alleyway, a dead end lined with dumpsters and graffiti-covered walls. My chest heaved as I tried to catch my breath while scanning for an escape route. That's when I heard it, slow, deliberate footsteps approaching from where I'd just come. I pressed myself against the wall, heart hammering in my chest as a figure emerged from the shadows at the mouth of the alleyway. It was humanoid, but wrong in every way imaginable. Its limbs were too long, its movements jerky like a marionette controlled by invisible strings. And its face was blank, a smooth expanse of pale flesh where eyes and a mouth should have been. It tilted its head unnaturally to one side as if studying me before taking another step forward. "No," I whispered shakily, backing away until my hands hit cold brick behind me. "Stay away!" The thing didn't listen. It lunged toward me with impossible speed. In sheer desperation, I grabbed a broken piece of wood from one of the dumpsters and swung wildly as it closed in on me. The makeshift weapon connected with its arm and shattered into splinters on impact as if it had hit solid stone instead of flesh. The creature let out an ear-piercing screech that reverberated through my skull before retreating slightly, but only for a moment. Its blank face seemed to ripple like liquid before shifting, morphing, until it mirrored my own face. My own terrified expression stared back at me from its featureless head. Paralyzed by fear and disbelief, I could only watch as it raised one elongated arm toward me, and then everything went black. When I woke up hours later, or maybe minutes, I couldn't tell. I was lying on a familiar street near my apartment building under the glow of a flickering street lamp. My clothes were torn, my body ached all over, but there was no sign of it. No sign that anything had happened at all. Except for one thing. Etched into the pavement beside me were 3 words scratched deep into the concrete. You can't run. I haven't gone jogging since that night. And every time I pass by that side street during daylight hours now, it's not there anymore. It started like any other summer evening. The sun was still clinging to the horizon, casting long amber streaks over the quiet suburban streets. I laced up my shoes, popped in one earbud, just one, in case of cars or weirdos, and hit play on my playlist. Jogging was my escape. 30 minutes of silence, rhythm, sweat, and the steady thud of feet against pavement. I usually stuck to the same loop, around the neighborhood, past the little creek, then back through the park. But that night, something was different. As I passed the familiar rusted sign marking the edge of Greystone Park, a breeze kicked up. Odd, since the air had been still and sticky all day. I slowed a bit, wiping my forehead with my sleeve. That's when I saw it. A path. Narrow, barely more than a dirt trail. It weaved between 2 overgrown hedges just past the playground. I'd never seen it before, and I'd been jogging this route for 3 summers. I stopped. Maybe the city had cleared a new walking trail, or maybe some kids carved it out recently. It looked welcoming in a strange way. Overhanging branches, dappled light filtering through leaves. Quiet, cooler than the sweltering street behind me. Curiosity got the better of me. I turned down the path. The shift was immediate. The air changed. Cooler, yes, but thicker. The world outside dulled. My music fizzled, distorted, then went silent. I pulled out my phone. Still playing. I tapped the screen, froze, rebooted, nothing. Great. I sighed and slipped the phone into my pocket. Just jog. 10 minutes in, 10 minutes out. You're fine? The trail curved and dipped into a gully. The trees grew denser, arching into each other, forming a kind of tunnel. My footsteps grew muffled on the dirt. I heard something behind me. Crunch. I stopped and spun around. Nothing. Probably a branch falling or a raccoon. The woods were full of noise. I pushed on. Another few minutes, and the trail widened. I slowed to a walk. The forest was off. No birdsong, no insects, just the sound of my breathing, my heartbeat. And crunch. Closer this time, deliberate. Hello? I called out. My voice sounded wrong here, like it didn't carry, like the trees absorbed it. No answer. I started jogging again. That's when I noticed something. The trail was looping. I passed the same gnarled tree with the split trunk 3 times, I was sure of it. The same broken bench half buried in moss. The same torn backpack lying in the dirt. Each time I passed it, it looked older, more decayed. The 4th time I passed it, the backpack was shredded. And the trees weren't just trees anymore, they had carvings, faces, dozens of them. Twisted expressions, mouths open in silent screams. I stopped running. I was shaking. My breaths came shallow. I turned around, planning to go back the way I came, but the trail behind me was gone. Gone. Just thick trees and shadows. Nope. I spun around again, and this time the path was lit. Not brightly, but enough. A faint glow ahead like firelight. My legs moved before my brain caught up. I walked toward it. The light led me to a clearing. In the center was a massive tree, blackened and dead. Around it, stones arranged in a perfect circle. On each one, a candle burned low, flickering unnaturally without wind. And in front of the tree, hunched over someone, was a figure. It was draped in fabric, torn and damp. I couldn't see a face, just long limbs, too long. It twitched once, then again. I stepped back, my foot snapped a twig. The figure stopped moving. Slowly it raised its head. There was no face, no eyes, no mouth, just smooth, pale skin stretched too tight over bone. And yet, I felt it looking at me. It stood, towered. I ran. Branches slapped my arms, my legs. Thorns tore my shirt. My lungs burned. Behind me, footsteps fast, light, too fast. I didn't look back. I kept running until the woods began to thin. I saw light, street light. I stumbled out onto the sidewalk, gasping. The path behind me was gone, just bushes, fence, nothing more. I didn't sleep that night. Couldn't. The next day I went back with a friend. Midday, sunny, normal. The park was the same. Playground, bench, but no path. Not even a break in the hedges. I tried to laugh it off, told myself it was heat stroke or a vivid hallucination. But when I got home, I checked my GPS tracker, and there it was, a perfect loop, 4 times, right before the signal cut off completely for 12 minutes. And when I zoomed in, at the center of the loop was a marker, a tag that read, "Where it waits." I haven't jogged since, but sometimes when I'm falling asleep, I hear the crunch of a footstep just outside my window, and I know the path is still there, waiting.